takes care of her family, her husband, right? We want to be that lady, but we don't want to be subservient. Like, excuse me, what am I, the maid? Hello. How do we solve that? Today, we have Danielle Renov, the superstar, Instagram, wonderful, yummy human being on the show today. She's going to tell us how to We have Danielle Renov in the house today. This is so thrilling. Do you realize it's so bizarre? We got so many mazillion emails and texts and when's she coming in? What time? So we're really thrilled to have you here. We're going to have the best time. But here's the thing. By the end of this show, you will know how to serve without being subservient. Now, I just have one big question for you because Danielle, first of all, welcome to the show, Danielle. Thank you for being here. We love you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Sari. Thank you to everybody. Leah, I'm really excited to be here today.
Yay. We got a lot to cover because when I was doing the pre-show interview, usually I'm talking to her and she had so many, I couldn't type that. I'm like, not hello. Anyway, so we have a lot to cover. We're going to get right into the meat of it. Okay. Right. We go really deep, very fast. Here's the question for you. Why would I want to serve anyway? Like, okay, subservient, I get it. You know, I don't want to be subservient. Who wants to be subservient, right? But why would I want to serve? So you said that you wanted to make us a queen and whatever. I don't want to be a queen. Let him serve me. Is that too rough and tough?
No, I think it's a very fair question. And I think like when you said we were going to get right into it, I thought we were going to like segue. We just
dive off the platform, right?
Okay. So I'm ready. Okay. No more.
Well, hold on. But also you said you wanted to start with talking about your background and your mom and how she was a powerhouse, even though she served her dad. So your go, whichever one you want to cover. We're going to have fun.
I'm going to nosedive right with you, first of all. And I'm going to say, since our conversation, I've been thinking a lot about it because I was like thinking a lot about what the word serve meant and why would anybody want to serve? Like, first of all, how could you serve without being subservient? But why would you want to serve, period? Like, so I'm so happy you started with that because that really, after our conversation, the wheels were turning in my head and I was like, who cares how somebody treats you? Why do I want to serve? So I was thinking a lot about it. And I sort of was thinking about it like, okay, forget why I want to serve. Let me look at places in my life where I do serve and see how I feel about myself in those relationships. So obviously the first place I went to were my marriage and to my relationship with Hashem. So I very happily serve Hashem. That is clearly a relationship in which I am the server, right? Like Hashem is my God. He is my master. He is my father. In all of the ways that we describe our relationship with Hashem, we are always the ones serving Hashem. However, at the same time, Hashem is constantly giving to us, constantly. We're not made to feel lesser or lower. When we perform acts of service to Hashem, we are actually elevated through those acts. Our connection to Hashem.
You're saying love, you can feel this love of serving Hashem, but like cleaning for Pesach, like you're doing your oven and you're kind of feeling like you're serving Hashem. But
sometimes an act of service is not accompanied by a lovey-dovey, warm, amazing, happy, pink fluffy bunny and balloons kind of feeling. Sometimes it's an ends to a means. Sometimes the service is it's a means to an end. Sometimes it's the means that brings us to our desired goal. So my ultimate goal in life is to be as connected to Hashem as I can, to be connected to His Torah, to grow, to fulfill my potential, to help bring Hashem's light down into this world and shine it outwards, to bring this world, please God, closer to Mashiach. Those are all my ultimate goals. In order to get to those goals, I need to constantly maintain my relationship to Hashem, and not only maintain it, but progress it. I need that relationship to keep climbing higher and higher and higher. And the only way to do that is through these acts of service. So sometimes the acts of service do make me feel all warm and loving, right? I go to the kotel, I daven, maybe I'm in a bad mood, I cry it out, I get my emotions out. And then I come out and I automatically feel lighter and better because I've let it all go. Or I just, Baruch Hashem, had a baby and I get to make a beautiful kiddush or a bris for this baby and welcome them into this
Mazel tov, by the way.
thank you. You know, welcome them into this amazing tribe of people and my people, and you know, bring them into the life that Hashem wants, and that's an amazing, happy feeling. And then sometimes I have to clean for Pesach, which is like super duper annoying. There's chumras, there's things, there's tinfoil, there's fires, there's boiling water everywhere. Like it's messy.
It's blowing up. We're
It's
getting
all
a million
over.
questions. Hold on. Should we interrupt, or you should hold?
So no, I don't want to interrupt her only because the questions are all very marriage related. And I think I want people to.
Okay, let's hear this part first.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
fine.
I
I just see they're flagging me down that everyone's.
Right. Okay. So we're getting to the husband next because I thought about that also. But so just in regards to Hashem, you know, so sometimes it doesn't feel as good, like cleaning for Pesach. Sometimes it feels really good, like a wedding, stepping on the glass at the wedding, or, you know, making brachos, things like that, being able to bring everybody to your Shabbos table. But either way, the act of service that we're doing is bringing us closer towards him. It is a means to an end. And I am happy to participate because we have the same goal in mind. So sometimes when we're serving somebody and our goals are aligned, then that service isn't really about a service to that person. It's also a service to myself. So it's not about me serving the other person. It's about serving this ultimate goal, which is something that I value, and therefore it kind of washes away that yucky feeling of I am a servant.
Totally hear that. You're that whole drive, not necessarily because it's okay, now there's something in it for me, which I'm not opposed to, but it's also this feeling of you're growing something, you're bringing more blessing into the home when you're serving Hashem, and now you're also talking about serving your husband.
So now when you take that concept, right,
Okay.
and you move it to your marriage, or you move it to a friendship, or to your children, or to your workplace environment, anything like that, then all of a sudden it becomes not so much about the person who you're serving, but it becomes more about why you're performing that service. So I think about marriage a lot, and I think about, obviously I only have one marriage, you know, to compare it to. I mean, I can sort of look at my parents' marriage, but the truth is, you know, as a child, we see our parents through one lens and we don't get an objective view. And in my mind, my parents had this perfect, blissful marriage and I never saw them fight, and they are lovey-dovey. But now that I'm married, you know, I know that they're both human beings, and I'm sure they had whatever friction they had, but they just did a really good job of creating a blissful home for me and my siblings to, you know, grow up in, Baruch Hashem. But when I think about my own marriage and I think about the dynamics between me and my husband, we are literally polar opposites. I'm fire, he's water. And I mean that literally. Like,
Hello. Let's hear the real scoop. Okay. No.
I mean, look, anybody that knows me, I'm passionate, I'm loud. Like, I don't have small opinions. If I have an opinion, I will fight to like no end. So, you know, and then comes this water, and the water puts out the fire in 10 seconds. But it's like this peaceful, calming, like there's no stormy waters with Ellie. It's all peace. We're in the Mediterranean here, you know?
Wow.
It's Baruch Hashem. But you know, we really are opposites. The way we eat, the things we like, the activities we like to do. We have so little in common on the surface. But really, the reason that I think that our marriage works so well is our marriage is goal oriented. We both have the same values. We have the same goals. We're working towards the same thing. We both want to be better people every day. We both want to be more well-rounded. I want to be able to have strong opinions and, you know, not shoot darts at somebody who has a different opinion than me.
Nice idea, right?
He helps me with that. And he wants to feel more passionate about something and not be, you know, and he wants to be able to express his passion for something. And, you know, I can help with that. There's just different things that we each bring to the table, but because we're working towards the same thing, I know that Bli Ayin Hara and Maya Esrim, we will have a successful marriage because we both have the same goal in mind. So then I take this whole service definition that I, decided existed in my relationship with Hashem. And now when I do for Ellie, right? So Ellie walks in the house every day, 7:30, 8 o'clock from work. I want to have dinner ready for him. Is that the model I saw? Yes. Does it make it easier for me to do? Probably, because it's what I saw growing up. Now I prepare his cup, I prepare his plate. I even sometimes like to have the food on the plate if I can. And I have
Subservient, ha ha ha. Excuse me, explain this. It's blowing up here. We're getting so many questions.
I know, ding, ding, ding. You're right. It is totally so I would venture to say it is not subservience. It is an act of service. So what's the difference? So first of all, the difference is that I want to do that for Ellie. So right away, it's not subservience. Am I brainwashed? Am I culturally, accustomed to this? I don't care. I don't care what you want to call it. The bottom line is you cannot take away my right to want to serve my husband. I want to serve him. And I will tell you that I think he wants to serve me also. Our acts of service, though, look different. They don't look the same. Because I'm a woman, my name's Danielle, I'm almost 35, I was raised in this home and I come from this space, so these are what my acts of service look like. His name is Ellie, he's almost 40, and he grew up a certain way, and his acts of service look that way. Your husband is not going to have the same acts of service that Ellie has, and you're not going to provide the same acts of service that I provide, because we're each different. I'm not talking about women's roles and men's roles here, even though that's what we were going to talk about.
A little politically, hello, okay.
Yeah. No, because I came to understand it wasn't about that. It's not about you're a woman, this is your job. You're a man, this is your job. It's about you are in a marriage. In order to love somebody, you must give to them. You must think about how you can give to that person, and please God, they should think about how they can give to you. You can't control that though. You can only do your end of it and hope that you marry somebody who has the same values as you, who also wants to give back to you. Now, I don't want to get into any of that. If your spouse is not ever giving to you or providing acts of service, I don't know. You need to see a marriage therapist or just communicate and say that you want them to do something for you. I don't know. I'm not married.
Maybe sometimes the woman is waiting for him to do, before. Look, he doesn't serve me. He didn't do this. He didn't take out the trash. He didn't put the light bulb in. I've got to keep bumping my knee in the laundry room, whatever it is. So they're waiting for him. So the issue is that the secret is to act first. If you do the act of services, you may not be a guarantee, but it's your number one chance of getting him to do.
No, because you're not.
No.
Okay. I don't think so, because you're not. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Right. No, let's see. I don't mind argument. It's good. Okay, good. Tell me why. What do you think?
I hear what you're saying, but you're not giving in order to get.
Oh, yes. No, 100%.
You're never giving in order to receive, because you've gone down the rabbit hole. You did the nosedive. Right. If you gave in order to get back, you're done. You're not coming back. There's no coming back from that.
Meaning that's not the way to do it. Right, exactly.
So when I give what I want to give, at the end of my giving, I am satisfied. But if I give in order to get back, then after I've given, I'm now stuck in a waiting game. I'm in like an endless elevator, playing bad elevator music for the rest of my life. I'm constantly waiting for those doors to open and give back to me. So giving to get literally leaves you in that.
Right. And actually, I'm going to put a timeout on that, because that's not actually what I was saying. Is people want to get their husband to give. And I'm telling them the number one way to get him to give is for you to give. Not that you're giving to get, but in other words, to change his tide. A lot of people who are sitting there waiting for him to give, they're going to be waiting for, like, in the elevator or whatever, for listening to me, okay? But in terms of the number one way to get your husband to give, not because that's why you're doing it, because you're absolutely right. Dessler gives over. You give, the more you give, the more you love. And the same thing with your husband. One of the things that we talk a lot about here is that Rav Moshe Cordovero gives over. All bracha comes from God, from Shemaim, through the husband into the wife. So part of a woman's giving to her husband is receiving the blessing, receiving the bracha that he brings into the home. The husband is the giver, the wife is the receiver. So the wife is doing acts of service all day long, but her biggest way of giving to her husband is by receiving from him, saying thank you when he does stuff like, okay, you did all the grocery shopping, you made the list, you went, you whatever. He brought them in from the car. Thank you very much, dear. He did one thing out of the 19 things to get the food on the table. Okay, thanking him for that. That is part of our story.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of that. But I also think that when you view your acts of service as as a means to an end, meaning your ultimate goal is to have a happy home and a good marriage, and you want to show that through an act of service, then I think you're much more satisfied with the serving, right? So I grew up in a home where my mother is very, very, very Moroccan, right? She was born and raised in Morocco, and she grew up in a home where the men were fed first, women second, and always oldest youngest. And she is the youngest. So she got the worst piece of chicken if she even got it. But that really is just how she grew up. And every day my father walks in the house, there is a cup filled with ice and his Coke bottle on the table waiting for him. There was dinner. It was plated on china with a fork and knife. My father did not get up from the Shabbos table. And now my father's Ashkenaz. Like, he probably at the beginning of his marriage grew up thinking he was going to help, and my mother didn't allow it. She was like, no. Like, it would honestly, it would mortify her if he stood up. She wants to provide these acts of services. Now, she is not a slave. In my eyes and my brother's eyes, my parents are equal for sure. My mother is very, very strong and dominant, and my father is very, very strong and dominant in my mind. They are both extremely respectful of each other. My father respects and appreciates everything my mother does. Does that mean he walks around the house saying, thank you, thank you? Oh, look, this tile is clean. Thank you. This tile is clean. Thank you. My shirt is folded. Thank you. No. He shows his thanks by being respectful to her. He talks about her beautifully. He speaks about her beautifully. He looks at her beautifully. He's appreciative for everything she does for him. And my mother is the same way. My mother is appreciative for everything my father does. She loves him. She waits for him to come home. She is.
You had said something. You said, my mother serves my husband and my father all the time, but she's a powerhouse. This was a mind blower for me, because you don't think of a woman like that as a powerhouse. So I have two questions for you. One is, how could she be a powerhouse when she's, doing all these, subservient things? And the second question is, isn't that okay? That's really lovely, Danielle. I'm so happy, but that's a different era. We're in different times now. Women, we grew up differently, and our expectations are different. So we talk, a lot about equality in the Ladies Talk Show, but it's like equality. Absolutely. Like, men and women should be paid the same rate. Like, hello, that's something we should all fight for and be mad about that we don't have. Equality in the workplace, great measure. The measure at home is not equality. The measure at home is shalom.
Why aren't they equal?
At home?
Yeah. Why would it matter?
Because women are superior to men. No. Okay. Because but that's not the measure. The measure.
No, but they are. But even if you were measuring, fine. People, they're different. Their roles are different. Me and my close friends have different jobs. I do one thing, she does another thing. I have this many kids, she has this many kids. Right. I live this way. I wear tichels, she wears shaitels. I work this many hours, she works that many hours. Are we not equal, even though we do different things?
Maybe the word.
Leah, I have to jump in on this one.
Okay.
I hear what Danielle you're saying, but at the same token, that's not the way Torah sees it. In Torah, I'm talking about, by the way, don't get me wrong. I so wish I lived like your mother and your father, because I always was a powerhouse, and I felt the way to be a powerhouse was to show my power, and I was not serving my husband. So I actually have learned that serving and doing that actually gives you more power. So I this for me is the best class ever to hear. But in terms of equal, the Torah does say that a man is the king, and he's on a little bit of a higher plane. That is why even in halacha, men they do trump in many areas of a woman. That does not mean that the woman is a nothing. but she's not on an equal plane, Torah-wise.
Right. So
I don't know. I don't even agree with that. I think a lot of the way the Torah delineates mitzvos is based on what's practical and what makes sense and who's around and who isn't around. The only thing I could see, like maybe we're getting into like iffy territory about is witnesses, right? Like if a witness has to be a man and things like that, like why can't the witness be a woman? Whatever. I hear what you're saying, and I hear it, but a lot of the things like women shouldn't be bound to time bound mitzvahs and things like that. We are busy. We are with the children.
So
and
what?
I would say that's a much more important job than going out and making money. Like these are lives. These are neshamas. Like Hashem literally sent pieces of himself down into this world, and he was like, "Men, you go do your thing. This is for the women." Like.
Right.
Just go.
So we don't want to be politically, crazy here, but we do also want to acknowledge our 3,000-year-old bulletproof track record of success, which is our Masorah. So how does that stem with our day-to-day life today? So as Sarit's saying, because we have like 4 shows already on it. So she's, saying exactly what we talked about is the fact that there has to be, somebody's wearing the pants in the family. So there's somebody who's the king and somebody's the queen. And, look, I have this book. It's called Marriage Secrets. This is 220 Torah sources on, this is our Masorah of Shalom Bayis. I make no money in this. It all goes for Shalom Bayis. So I can push it all I want because I don't make money. But in here are the 220 sources. And what they say is that there has to be a king. So wait a minute, if I'm the queen, so he's number 1 and I'm number 2. So actually, according to our Masorah, the answer is yes. However, the woman thinks, oh, well, because of modern society that says, oh, we should be the, we should be the power, we should be the control, we should be independent, whatever, all of that stuff. There's something far more important. Women are brainwashed to think they need control. There's something a woman needs far more than control, and that's connection. Okay. Believe me, this is a hard concept to take in one gulp and go, whatever you go, are you crazy, Leah? But here's what I just ask you to try, just to try this on, that if you focus on trying to influence your husband and let him have control, because a man needs control like oxygen. There's so many divorces now. It's because there's this fight for control and for power. And if the woman just says, the truth is, like, push come to shove, would I rather have closeness and all my needs met and all the blessing in the home, or would I rather have control over my husband and tell him what to do and how to do it? And he didn't change the diaper right, and he didn't, the dishes, they still have soap on them and that egg on that, so instead of controlling him and micromanaging him, if you just, can pull the reins back, let him have control, learn to have charm, like I'm sure your mother did, which is, he's the king, but I think it's better if we go to so-and-so to my in-laws for Pesach. And he's like, no, we're not doing that. And she's like, all right, if that's what you want, whatever, okay. And then he sees she's a little upset. Now he wants it. Why do you think that? Where she said, we should. And she made a big battle of it, right? We got this, the Ladies Talk Show punching glove, okay? If she's making a battle with him, he'll battle back. But if she's just, is softer and yummier and whatever, he'll come and ask her, all right, where did you want to go for Pesach, dear? Let me find out. This is not something you have to hear one time and say, okay, Leah's right, or the Masorah's right. It's not me. It's the Masorah's right. And I'm just going to, lay down and think about this. The main thing is to try this at home. You try this, and it's exactly what your mother's doing. That's what
right. I don't think it's about necessarily being softer or, I don't think you have to like demean yourself in order to do it, but I think that Hashem gave women a lot of chachma. He gave women a lot of smarts that I think men, don't have the same type of.
Sarah, it's true. Yeah.
Women are very, very clever. It's not just smart. Women can be very, very clever, and you know exactly how to get to your husband. That's just how it is. And my mother told me that when I got married, and I saw it when I was growing up. And my mother, we would ask my father something and he would say, no, no, no. And my mother would look at us and she would say,
oh, this is adorable.
And then, my father would come back a day or two later. So I was thinking about what you said. And I knew that somehow, whether my mother said something with words, whether she left a newspaper open on the table, maybe she was telling him about a conversation she overheard, between me and my friends or something like that. Somehow the message got across that whatever I was asking for was something she believed I needed, and she made it happen, but made my father think that it was his idea.
That you just called it. That's, look at Sarit going, yes, like this. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly
And
gorgeous.
it's not because she's subservient to him. It's because she's very, very clever. And because she understood who my father was and how to speak to him. And today, I think in the modern world, for what I personally believe, I don't know if I'm about to get attacked on this,
Okay.
I think that a lot of the reason why women say, well, this is a different world, that was a different time, because it is a different world. And back then, women weren't working. First of all, we didn't have, I mean, I live in Israel, so I don't have tuition, but if you live in America, I don't know how anybody can afford to have a woman not working. I mean, tuition is out of control. Healthcare, out of control. Your finances are crazy. So I understand that women have to work. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't be working, but I'm saying that 100 years ago, maybe women were not working. So it was much easier for them to care for their roles. The roles were much more defined. And it was almost easier for that relationship to play itself out in those dynamics because everyone had a very specific job. Today, where the women are working just as hard as the men, but also the primary caretakers of the children
and housekeepers, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, is where things become very, very sticky. And it's where the lines get blurred. And all of a sudden, well, you're going to work from 9 to 5. I'm also going to work from 9 to 5. Why do I have to put the cup on the table for you? You should put the cup on the table for me. I'm bringing in just as much money as you are, blah, 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 going back and forth, back and forth. And I get that because I work. I work and I take care of my kids and I take care of my home. And I understand exactly how you feel. I still, with everything I do in my home, I still put dinner on the table for my husband because it's a rite of passage in a way. It's something that we do that makes your husband feel good because men like to be served food. It's just like, it is a cliche. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, but it is the truth. It is the truth. Do you want to reach his heart? Serve him some food. Like, you don't even have to
bond. It's a bond. Yeah.
put the
So how do you
on the table, put the bowl.
So it seems like a mental transition then you're saying to being served to not be subservient. When you're sitting there and you're setting the table for him and you're like, why isn't he setting the table for me? I mean, what can you explain what the emotion is?
Yeah, your goal is not aligned. When you're upset about giving him the food, it's because your goal is not aligned with what you're doing. If your goal is to have a happy home and a happy marriage and show your husband respect, he should still show you respect. I am never ever negating what we should be given or we should be shown. If your goal is to show your spouse or your loved one or significant other, whatever, respect, then you must serve them. You must give acts of service. If a guest walks into my house after my 9 to 5 job and I am bathing my children and I am tired and I've done all this and a guest walked into my house, I would get up, I would go to the bathroom, I would wash my face, fix myself up, and I would go make them a plate of food. If I would do that for a guest, how much more so should I do that for the person I share my home with?
Like, okay, we've got so many people questions waiting on hold. Hold on a second. Let's bring in. But everybody who's watching, type in your questions. Sarit's got it. Wherever you're watching from, type in, and Sarit will give it over. Okay.
First we have someone on Instagram who actually said, Gemma is one who said, "We love you, Danielle. When are you coming to America next?"
Okay.
So you're getting.
Let us free. Let the people go.
Right.
But anyways, one Tamar said, "My mom is like that until today, and she's not Moroccan. So yay for the non-Moroccan." So,
I'm not saying that only Moroccans do this. I just only grew up with a Moroccan
culturally thing. Yeah.
That's just all I know.
But Daniela, culturally, I've definitely seen that my Sephardi friends have a better take on it of just serving because they just have just an innate, like they have it more. I think. I was a converted Ashkenaz, so I have to work on that. I need to bring out my Sephardi in.
Okay.
I agree. I do think it is more cultural, but I also just know for a fact that this is the home I grew up in. You know, I don't know for a fact about other people's homes. I mean, I know my aunts and uncles were very similar to mine. But I think there is a cultural piece in how we serve our husbands, and there is a Masoradic piece in how we serve our husbands. You know, like I think even in modern day marriage psychology, you know, a lot of the behaviors and patterns we saw in the home of our parents growing up are things that come very naturally to us. It's almost like our safe space, right? Like if we saw people screaming at each other, then when we're upset with our children, we go back to screaming because that's almost safe for us, right? It's a safe form.
Familiar.
That's what
Yeah.
we use, familiar, right? So we're constantly trying to break patterns that we don't want to pass on, and we're also imitating patterns that we saw. So I think, you know, because I saw a pattern of my mother being very proud to serve my father, my mother took her role very, very seriously, and my mother was a powerhouse. There was no Hachnasas Kala in the five towns before my mother came around. Literally, there was nothing.
Wow.
My mother single-handedly created the only Hachnasas Kala. I mean, now Baruch Hashem, there's money fund in the five towns. Years ago, before people didn't even know what Hachnasas Kala was. It was crazy. She ran this crazy, amazing organization. Then she opened up a store that the Kalas could come shop in, so they wouldn't feel nebby and people could come donate stuff, and it was like amazing.
Wow.
Literally, my mother's a powerhouse, and yet she was still happy to serve my father. Is Baruch Hashem still happy to serve my father in the way she does every single day.
I think that because it's so negatively thought of, sort of in the broader societal, you know, so media, the whole world, you know, and anything anyone's looking at, they're seeing that as like, oh, she's a schmata, she's a nothing, you know. And
I
I
don't
think
understand why feminism came to mean that you can't also like your feminine role. Like, why?
Yeah.
For so long, women served their husbands. Then this feminine movement came to be to say, I don't want to serve my husband, which is great. If you don't want to, more power to you. But why do you have to ruin it for the rest of the women that do want to do that? And why should I be less of a woman because I want to serve my husband? I am not. I am not less of a woman because I want to serve my husband. I do not accomplish less. I am not less respected by my children. I am not less respected by my peers. And I'm not less respected by my husband because I put the plate of food in front of him.
And the other thing about that, the main thing is that I don't think that people are in touch with the satisfaction it is from doing that. In other words, I think it's complete. They don't even, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going to be a subservient. I'm not, because it's so brainwashed into their brain. They won't even try it. So anybody who has never served their husband and actually brought him a plate or doesn't have dinner, you know, whatever, or takes out, whatever you do, try one time, see how it feels. Try it on. I mean, maybe it's so in the culture that you won't enjoy it right away, but maybe try it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever. Just try serving him and see how it feels. There's some kind of a closeness that's available to your husband that you may never have seen before. In other words, his bond, it's a way of bonding with your husband. This sounds crazy, but it's a spiritual truth. It's a spiritual truth. There's a bonding that takes place.
You can do. It's something only you can do every day.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not even just talking, forget a plate of food. If you don't like to cook, forget the food. Making his bed instead of him you make your bed, you make his bed, whatever. Make his bed, whatever it is. Find something in your house. It doesn't have to be food related.
Good.
Make his bed, prepare his hat, hang up his whatever, shine his shoes. I don't care. Find something that is a job that you can do, an act of service that you can do that just shows him you're thinking about him.
Even fluff his pillow without him knowing. Like you saw that his pillow, fluff it up. Then you're not waiting for him to say, oh, thank you for fluffing my pillow. He will never know you did it. But it's something you did to feel, to tap into that spiritual energy of closeness that you'll come from it. Okay, let's go. We have hardly any questions. Go.
People are literally on Instagram going, ask my question. I'm like, I'm trying.
Okay, I'll get a word in edgewise.
Okay. So Gourmet Homemade said man is king, but woman is queen. So we shouldn't forget that. And then I'm gonna.
Okay, but 1 second. My mother always said there's a saying in Moroccan Arabic. I can't say it, but if there's any Moroccans on here, I'm sure they'll say it.
Okay.
If you want to be a queen, you have to make your husband a king. So, you know, if you want to wear the crown, he also has to wear the crown.
You got to put it on his head. Okay.
I have a big two that really we must cover. So firstly, Khani, who actually put this in when we had done the story on asking questions. So she's ahead of the game. She said, how do people manage to be all attentive to their husbands when they feel drained at the end of the day?
Yeah. Okay. That's what you want us to answer that, or are you going to go to the second question?
Answer that, and then I'm going to ask one more over here. That's a really powerful one to what you just said.
Okay. So we got to do this one quick.
I don't think you have to be all attentive every day. First of all, your husband's not a child. And I'm not all attentive every day. Some days Ellie comes home at 8 o'clock. I have my bare minimum. My bare minimum is serving Ellie dinner. That is my bare minimum. I don't even, sometimes I'm very tired. I don't even always take the plate to the sink. Like sometimes he does that or whatever. Sometimes I don't even sit with him while he's eating once in a while, like if I'm too tired. My bare minimum is that I have to put the food on the plate and bring him the plate and make sure he has his dinner. That is my bare minimum. Now, some days he comes home and he'll even start talking to me. Now I'll literally look at him and say, Ellie, I'm so happy you're home. I just, my brain is like, I just can't even.
French toast. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Like talk about this tomorrow or something. And sometimes a few days in a row can happen like that. And then I'll realize like, oh my gosh. And I'll say, Ellie, listen, I see like my nights are not good right now. Could we like find an hour during the day or something to like catch up and talk? And the night dates don't work for me right now. Like I have a newborn, we're on lockdown, restaurants aren't open, nothing's open. So like I can't go anywhere. So like sometimes I meet and sometimes it's on the phone. Sometimes we literally schedule a meeting on the phone in the middle of the day to talk about, yes, you know, the first 20 minutes is like, this one has this one has this. Well, I spoke to this doctor, I spoke to this, I spoke to this tutor, I spoke to this and this. And then it's like, can you tell me what you were telling me the other day? You know, like, sometimes that has to happen because you're human and he's human and it's okay. No one's asking you to be superhuman. You are allowed to be a person. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be drained. You are not allowed to be obnoxious, whiny, and bratty just because you're tired and drained.
Hello. Okay, we'll take note of that.
So now with that, I have actually Gemma's and one other person who has a really combination question. She said, but what about women who aren't as used to that, meaning what your mother was doing and obviously what you're doing? Like my father helps my mom, he washes the dishes, etc. And I expect that from my husband as well. But maybe my husband wants to be served and I don't want to resent that. And then in that same line, so you can answer it together, someone else said, where do you draw the line to know that you're not being taken for granted?
Excellent questions, ladies. That's awesome. Awesome. Okay, go. You are on.
So I would say, like, first of all, any expectations should just be like taken away, right? Like you learn that pretty quickly in your marriage.
Yeah.
Whatever you expected, throw it out the window. It just gets you into trouble. Like it's not good. You know, you grew up in different homes. Every house, every family has their own language, their own way of communicating, and your expectations are not going to play out exactly how they are in your head. And unfortunately, they just get us into trouble. What you can do though is say, you know what? I really feel like if you helped me load the dishwasher, I would just really appreciate it. Do you think that's something you could help me with? And then he's going to do it. And by the way, when he does it, he's going to feel like he's saving your life. Like, he put those dishes in the dishwasher and he saving your life.
That's right.
And by the way, by asking him that way, you have served him. Because you're feeding into his needing to be a hero, and he is your hero right now because he saved your life. Yeah. So you're allowed to ask for help. You just have to find the
charming way to do it. The charming way to do it's how, and like you're saying, women are very clever. We have Beanie Sarah, and it's how to there's a spider, help.
Right.
A guy comes in, husband, he's like bum 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 to save the day. Exactly, and that way of getting him the manliness in him and the power and the just coming to your rescue. It's irresistible to a man. It makes him feel closer to you. Yeah. Okay.
I think where this Khani who asked the question might be getting into trouble is that she's comparing her marriage to her parents' marriage, and her father did XYZ, so her husband needs to do XYZ. I think that's where the root of that question is. And I think that, probably separating the two marriages and saying, okay, this worked for my parents. What works for me in my home? And thinking about it that way might get you the best results, because maybe for you, loading the dishwasher is actually not, like, when you separate the two marriages, maybe loading the dishwasher is not such a big deal, but maybe taking out the garbage, which is something maybe your father never did, would be a much bigger help to you. So
Or it could
separate
be
that.
another thing, Danielle. It could be that her father, did all these nice things, but I don't want to speak ill of her father, but wasn't emotionally available. Maybe what she
Whatever
needs
it
more is her
was.
husband to be there when she's upset, to really sit down on the couch and stop
Separate.
everything during being there for her. So it could be acts of service. It could be also being there for her emotionally, or doing things for her. Maybe she likes gifts. Maybe, there's a lot of different things that we know people have different languages. So it's 100%.
Yeah.
We have
Well,
more
So
questions
by the
coming.
way, I think, Danielle, this is what I'm seeing across the board now on all our social media channels.
Torah Anytime. By the way, we're on Torah
Yes.
Anytime, and I want to do a
I'm
shout
a
out to
huge
them.
Torah Anytime fan. Huge.
Huge.
And they
Okay.
know I tag them all the time.
Yeah,
Huge
yeah.
Torah Anytime.
They have been so awesome, and they the same thing with us. They blast us everywhere. They've been fantastic. And the other thing is, if you are bored at home and you're like, you're kind of one of those things you want to just go on the Torah Anytime app and just click on the first thing. Like, there's all these things there. You might go to the next one or whatever, but it's a great boost of, especially if it's raining out and you want something while you're doing the dishes. It's fantastic. Okay, so sorry. Let's go to that other question.
Danielle,
The other-
I think,
yeah.
Danielle, what people are having people in general are struggling in marriage, and I found it for myself also. And it wasn't even the working thing; it was the whole concept of, like you said, the feminist culture seeping into our world and making us feel as though we should, if we want to be equal and we want to be have a great marriage, we need to put our foot down and kind of set that up versus that serving. So someone is asking, actually, Rifa is asking, what if the woman has a better job than the man? How do you deal with that? Because that's then another component where if she's making more money than him, then he's almost lost his role, per se, that defined role. And now how do you deal with it?
Dun, 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 dun. This is a tough one.
I think that's a hard one. I don't know. I think that's a very hard one.
I have an answer for that. I mean, in a woman, I think that you have to understand, and some things that we learn, it's kind of like from our Masorah, it's hard to hear the first time, but if you are able to sort of try it out and try it at home or whatever, it can really bring you the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Menucha. What's menucha? So spiritual peace of mind, serenity, and rather than having that angst. And that is this, that we do have sources that say that all blessing comes from Shemaim through the husband into the wife. So I went to Rav Asher Weiss and I said, wait a minute, all blessing? Is that 100% of blessing comes through the husband? Like the woman, she's doing all these mitzvahs and all the blessing goes to her husband? Like, excuse me. And he goes, actually, that's the accurate way we read this, and that a woman can earn bracha and she can earn blessing to come into the home, but it goes up to Shemaim and it's sitting there in a waiting period for her husband to bring the blessing. Can only come through the husband. So that means everything. This necklace is from my husband, and this shirt is from my husband, and the little kernel of rice that's in the cabinet is from my husband, and whatever. This is actually the spiritual reality of the world. It's kind of interesting. It kind of gives a relief to a woman if you can take it. It can really empower you to. There's not that stress that it's all on you. It's on your husband. Okay, you have to receive it. And if you had to know what our 3,000-year-old track record of Masorah of our Shalom bias is, right? It's the wife, husband's the giver, and the wife's the receiver. So the receiver means receiver of blessing, means health, happiness, money, everything, all blessing. So the woman's the receiver, and if she's the size of this, like a challah bowl, she'll have a challah bowl worth of, but if she's a bathtub, she'll get a bathtub of blessing. If she's a swimming pool, an ocean of blessing. The job of the woman is to become a receiver, and the more she's a receiver. So now, how does that answer this question? If the wife is the receiver and she is receiving from her husband and being appreciative of what, it's just basically saying thank you in a nutshell. But basically, she's receiving the blessing, then all of the blessing that she brings into the home and all of the blessing that he brings into the home comes through the husband into her. Now, if she is making, she's a, superstar, she's is a sheitelmacher and she's bringing in big bucks or whatever she's doing. And he is, has this steady government job. I don't know what it is. She's making 3 times as much money as him. What the spiritual reality, and I've spoke with Rebbeim, and you're welcome to check with your local Orthodox Rav, check with some gadol or whatever, which I already did, but you're welcome to double check me, is that all of the money that comes in and all the blessing that she has, the money, the salary that she has from her boss that has nothing really to do with him is all sourced from him. So that's the spiritual reality. Try it on. What it means is it gives you a sense of relaxation. It gives you a sense of respect of your husband, because respect is granted, never earned. So you will respect your husband more because he's bringing in all the bracha in your home. The tough answer to hear.
Oh, no, he's not bringing in all the bracha. He's the pipeline.
Yes. Thank you for correcting me. Exactly. He's the pipeline of the blessing. So all the
Right, so
blessing.
You don't want a blockage in your pipe. You want the pipe to be open and flowing and easily access all the brachas coming down.
100%. That's exactly what it is. So for you, it might make you feel resentful that, you're making more money and he's doing less in the house and you have to also do all the diapers and he's the one, he works less than you and makes less than you. I'm telling you, our Masorah gives over. This is not Leah Richeimer. This is our Masorah. Our Masorah is that all blessing comes from that way. So if you can sort of internalize that, it takes the pressure off, it takes the resentment off, and it will be empowering to you to be able to serve him without being subservient. That's the name of this game. Sari, come with more questions because we only have a few minutes left.
Linda's asking a hard one also.
Okay.
She's saying that, and I think a lot of people, this is why it's such a hard topic, because people really are feeling that why do I have to be, in a sense, the server, and why am I not being served? And I think you really explained it so well. Yeah. So keep pushing.
Okay.
I think people will eventually switch over to our side.
It's hard.
So she's saying that she makes her, her husband food, and she does leave the food out. And then she basically, when he's done eating, he doesn't put it into the fridge. And then afterwards, she would probably eat it the next day, or, but it's just been sitting out there and she wants to throw it out. And she's like, I don't get it. The fridge is right there. There's no excuse. How am I, meaning what do I have to do? I have to serve him. So I also have to go back and make sure that if I'm doing something else, I have to go back to make sure everything's put away. And I got to worry about all these other pieces. Like, it doesn't seem fair.
I'm curious about, I have so many more questions before we could even comment on that. Like, why are you eating alone? What are you doing at that time? Where are you when he's eating dinner? Are you working? Are you busy? Are you with kids? Like, what is happening in your house that you are never, ever there when he's eating dinner?
So she said she leaves to, that's why I was not reading it straight out because I'm not so clear on what she means on this. She says, I go to sleep 12-ish, 1. He starts eating after I leave to brush and sleep. And if I come home from work at 5 and it's still there, like when you're done eating, put the pot in the fridge. So
maybe she's a nurse or something that works at night.
Yeah. So tell us what you are. Are you a nurse? Are you? We don't understand I hope you understand the question. We don't understand. But the other issue is you can't leave a little Post-it note for him saying, "Don't forget to put the pot in the fridge," or whatever. Like each time, maybe annoying, but keep the Post-it somewhere where you can, just keep putting.
Why can't you have a conversation about it? Like I don't like.
She probably did. She probably napped him a million times.
I think it's annoying also, by the way. I'm not like discrediting this.
Yeah,
that is annoying. Like once in a while, like I've accidentally left the soup pot out and then the soup pot wasn't put away. And then I woke up in the morning and this whole pot of chicken soup was oh my gosh. And then you say something and it's like, oh, like I didn't even see it. I literally wasn't paying it. I did not see it. And you're like, oh, okay, fair enough. Like that happened. But sometimes you just need to have the conversation. But
you remember it 10 years later. Like, don't we all? Okay, but anyway. Yeah, no, you handled it beautifully.
It might not have been that long ago. Who knows? Yeah. But no, but I'm saying, why can't you have a conversation and say, I would really appreciate if you could just take the plate and put it in the fridge.
Right. And some things, Danielle, some things are logistic issues and some things are emotional issues. Like if you told him 100 times to put it away and he didn't, it made you feel like he didn't care and didn't love you.
That's what, like we need more information. We can't, you can't go by like an example type of, we can't.
Right. Okay, go to the next question, Sari.
I'm really not qualified to do that.
Okay, so wait. So then I have, we're getting the resentful thing over and over. to be the provider.
I'm not trying to, because everybody needs to shift their mindset. I am not ever serving in order to get, I'm not trying to get him to be a provider. I'm not serving him because I have to. So there's nothing to be resentful of. And I'm not serving him. I'm serving our goal. Our goal-oriented marriage is aligned with me giving him dinner. So our goal, both of our goals, mine and my husband's, is to create a home with Shalom Bayis, is to have a happy home, is to have a good life, is to grow together, is to learn from each other, is to raise healthy children, is to serve Hashem, is to constantly grow in our service of Hashem. All of these goals are aligned, me and my husband. So when I'm giving him the plate of food, technically on a surface level, yeah, I'm serving him. Good. Okay, good that all these feminists say that, okay, I am serving my husband, but that's not just what I'm doing. That's a very superficial, they just scrape the surface. I'm serving our goal. I'm serving an ultimate purpose. Why would I be resentful of that? I chose that. This is the goal that I chose for myself. I chose to create a home.
Sorry, I left one piece out from her her beginning part because I just saw it as it popped in. The reason she's saying that is she's saying, what if the woman wants to be the server? She actually does want to be the server and the receiver, but the husband has a hard time being the provider. He likes to stay home and has a hard time providing. So she is fine with serving.
They're two different things. You know.
I agree. And I don't know. I don't know what a man that doesn't want to provide. Like, I'm not a man.
Yeah, for that, I would actually maybe speak with, maybe I was going to say his rub, but he might feel like you're going behind his back or something like that. Has she ever asked him how motivated he is to provide, or maybe he has low self-esteem and she needs to say, she needs to bolster him up or something like that. That's a whole other topic.
She's saying, and she's actually texting as we're talking, she's saying, what if she's not serving to get anything from him. She's serving out of joy.
Okay.
However, he's not providing amply, and then it's simply draining on her because she feels like everything is on her, and she's still trying to be such a good wife, but.
So we have a ladies talk show.
Underlying negativity here.
But we have a ladies talk show, Danielle, that she should watch called How to Make Your Husband Rich. Okay, just click below. Sarit will somehow put the link or whatever. It's How to Make Your Husband Rich. The basic bottom line of it, the more the woman receives from the husband, the more he'll have empty hands because she received it. Like in other words, if a husband says, "Oh, I like your dress," and you're like, "Oh, this piece of junk," that's called not receiving. If the husband says, "Oh, you look pretty today," and she's, or whatever, she's not receiving anything. He hands her something and she says, "Oh, no, thanks, I don't want it." Take it anyway, ladies. Take it anyway. Receive from your husband. The more you receive, the more his hands will be empty. He'll need to run to go make more money for you. So the key to making your husband rich, and there's a whole, we went through like a lot of different things in the show, but the key is to be more of a receiver. The more of a receiver you are, the more motivated he will be to learn. And this is not Leah Richeimer. This is our Masorah. It's it's a guaranteed bulletproof.
But also just to this woman, because it really does sound like she's having a hard time with what he's bringing home. At the beginning of the year, Hashem decides how much money he is going to make. He decides how much money is coming into your home.
Awesome.
So, you can, I don't know why putting dinner on his plate would have anything to do with being like, they're not the same. They're not. Yeah. We're talking apples and oranges here. Like, they shouldn't be applicable.
You're saying. Right. Maybe instead of worrying about with him, turn to Hashem and say, Hashem, please provide us with more. Give my husband more, obviously, because that's coming from a different channel. But Danielle, they do want, and already a few people asked, and we just have like literally 2 minutes left, is give your number one marriage tip.
I don't have one. I don't have one.
She's so adorable.
That's such a simplification. Marriage is so complex and so nuanced. There's no one tip. I could say always give, but then you could take that too far. And I could say always wear makeup when your husband comes home, but that's ridiculous. There's no one tip. I guess if there's one tip, it would be like, keep working on yourself. Yeah, that's my one tip. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I changed my mind. Keep working on yourself.
Gorgeous.
Stop looking at what he has to do. Focus on what you have to do and just keep working on yourself. Even if you're, I mean, obviously we're only talking about healthy relationships here. I'm not talking about abuse or any kind of extreme situations. I'm just talking about within the realm of healthy relationships. You just focus on yourself. You do not need to look at what he's doing, if he's growing, if he's changing, if he's whatever. You focus on yourself, your midos, how you can grow, and you will affect your
Gorgeous.
entire
Okay,
life.
wait, but
Gorgeous.
Leah, you know, I have to go because literally you have 4 people responding to that other person's question, trying to clarify for her. So Danielle, they're not letting you off the hook.
She's got to go. She's got to feed her baby.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm
Wait,
good.
so I'll tell you what another person chimed in, and then after the rest. So one said, "We serve our husbands, children, and people we love because we care for them. They don't need to earn a certain amount to earn that respect or love." But then someone else said, "I think she's saying she's giving and she wants to, but she feels burnt out. She's providing, and he's not only providing monetarily, maybe emotionally or helping around the house. He's not providing her with stuff. So it's not just money."
That's it. You heard that, Danielle?
I mean, yeah, all of these are assumptions. We don't know.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Okay, so my blessing to you and to everybody who's listening is that you should have an aliyah and shalom bayis. You should be closer to your husband. You should feel stronger in yourself, more empowered in yourself, and stronger. And you are able to serve out of love and not out of subservience. And that's the bracha, and especially to that woman who's going through the challenging time. But we want to know how we can get in touch with you. Tell all our listeners how can people get more of Danielle? You are yummy, yummy beyond.
You can find me on Instagram at Peas Loving Carrots.
And your book, you have a book, a cookbook? Let's plug your book.
I didn't have a book. It's here. It's not a marriage book.
Wait,
Although
hold it up. Hold it up.
It's a cookbook and it has lots of yummy recipes and will, help you get to your husband's heart through his belly. So
Yeah, exactly. And it's flying off the shelf on Amazon. It's like bestseller on Amazon. Gotta take that.
Okay. I also just want to say one more thing that just occurred to me. It's very important while you're serving your husband and serving your children that you're also serving yourself. So sometimes when you make 2 dinners and you make 1 dinner that all your kids and your husband eat, and you make a second dinner because that's what you wanted to eat, you are serving yourself. And that is awesome. And other women will tell you, "Oh, you make 2 dinners, you're crazy." But no, that was awesome because that took power and that took energy, and you did that for yourself, and that was amazing. And you have to serve yourself also. While you're serving your husband, while you're serving your children, while you're serving Hashem, you also need to serve yourself. And I think that's the key to not being resentful.
Whoa.
So if you take a night off from dinner, that means ordering dinner one night. You find a way, you have a little pekalech of money or something like that, and you order the dinner one night. If you don't want to mop your floors, then you have a cleaning lady come, you save up whatever money you can, and you have her come and mop the floors, and that is serving yourself. While you are serving everybody else, you must serve yourself in order to maintain a self.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on the show. You were awesome, with a lot of sparks flying, a lot of engagement. Everybody, send this along to your friends. Subscribe to the Ladies Talk Show so that you'll hear about our weekly shows. And Danielle, make sure to buy that cookbook. Everybody has to have that on their shelf. Thank you so much for being with us. It was a pleasure and thrilling to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Good night. Bye.